Betrayal may shatter our faith in others, but it should never shatter our faith in ourselves. Hi, welcome back to Light and Shadow. My name is JF. And today I'm going to talk about something that hit me recently and a lot of people. And it's partner betrayal trauma. A friend of mine, another light worker, sent me this today, actually. It's an article about partner betrayal trauma. Me and her had talked on and off about my podcast, and I had asked her that if she ever had any ideas, then to send it to me, and I maybe could incorporate in my podcast. Well, she did, and it was timely because this week I was kind of struggling to pick a subject. Not that there isn't enough of them. I wanted to pick something that was closely related to my experience. And that good friend of mine came up and came through. Thank you, Tracy. You are an earth angel. So let's start with this. So this is an article that was posted by somebody called Michelle Mays. She's a licensed professional counselor and expert in treating sexual betrayal and trauma. She's also the author of a new book called The Betrayal Bind: How to Heal When the Person You Love the Most has hurt you the worst. Michelle has created a new treatment model to address the devastating dilemma that betrayed partners face when their significant others is unsafe to connect to, yet connection is the key to healing. So here we go. You may or may not be learning about partner betrayal trauma for the first time. So if it's not your first time, then I'm sure you're somewhat versed into this, but let's see what Michelle has to say on that. So here's the thing about partner betrayal trauma. It makes you feel like you are losing your mind. It puts you in an emotional rack and pulls you in the opposite directions until you are begging for mercy, or you break and ricochet over the one or another extreme to just find some relief. Now, I can relate to that personally because when that happened to me, I felt like I was ripped in two. Like one side wanted something, the other side didn't want another, and for the first few days, it was it's like you don't know what to do with yourself. It's so overwhelming, so overwhelming. So Michelle writes, I wish that when I was going through the many rounds of betrayal I experienced, that I knew then what I know today. More information would have helped me feel normal, and I would have been able to be kinder to myself when my emotions and behaviors felt out of control. If you've been through this, you know that your emotions just explode. Like you have no control over them. None, zero, zilch. And it's hard. Like you want to control these emotions, but you can't. And especially me as an autistic and ADHD person, it's super hard. But you know what? I did it, and I'll show you how later. So she wrote, at the time, I did not understand the science and theory behind the way that we pair bond and what happens when that attachment is damaged. I only knew that discovering sexual betrayal in my relationship changed me overnight. And you know what? I don't think I know one person that it happened to that did not change him. It changes everyone. Because it makes you face yourself too. Every betrayed partner is dealt two blows at once when they discover their spouse's sexual behavior. Blow number one is the gut punch of betrayal, a breathtaking breach of trust that changes your relationship in permanent ways. Blow number two is the shocking realization that your partner has been extravagantly and expertly lying and manipulating reality in order to cover up their behavior. These blows smash into your heart and in an instant plunges you into a whole new world. Um, in my case, that was definitely so. My partner, who I discovered, well, I had starting to discover that she was a covert narcissist, and well, when the discard happened, then I knew exactly who she was. Uh, and that kind of betrayal, because you start questioning yourself. How long has this been going on? Right? Was it just one person? Was it several? Like, so many things go through your mind. Hence the emotional abandonment. Like, you're overwhelmed. And you know what? In the moment, it's okay to be overwhelmed. It's a normal reaction. So don't judge yourself too hard based on that, please. She also writes, when I experienced this in seconds, two persons who I depended, the person, sorry, who I depended on was deeply connected to, went from being a source of support and companionship to being a source of pain, fear, and deep uncertainty. My relationship, which had created a stable base from which I was able to operate in the world, was suddenly a rickety, wobbly mess. So here's what she wished that she had known about it when it happened to her. So that's the science behind the tsunami of feelings betrayed partners so often experienced. Getting attached. When we pair up into a long-term relationship, we begin a process of bonding with one another. That is a beautiful and profound intertwining of two lives. In this mysterious attachment, we actually start to physically operate as one biological organism. Attachment says numerous studies show that once we become attached to someone, the two of us form one physiological unit. Our partner regulates our blood pressure, our heart rate, our breathing, and the levels of hormones in our blood. As our bond grows, through perhaps getting married, combining our homes, having children together, or working towards common goals, we become more and more interdependent with one another. This is not codependency I'm talking about. It's a healthy, normal, mutual dependency. It is what makes relationship fulfilling and sought after. We all want the special someone to attach to and intermingle our lives with. In fact, attachment, researchers talk about the paradox of attachment, saying the more effectively dependent people are on one another, the more independent and daring they become. So the better our relationship so the better our relationships are in terms of providing us with a sense of I can depend on you, the more we are able to move fully into the rest of our lives, faced with insecurity and taking risks. In this way, our adult relationships mirror our relationship with our parents as children. Both, when functioning well, provide us with a secure base from which we can enter our world with confidence. It's a lot. Okay, let's break that down for a bit. There's beneficial and healthy attachment, and then there's codependency, where you cannot function without the other, and that's not good. When you have a healthy bond, you can both operate independently and still have that attachment. Now that's healthy. In my case, dealing with a covert narcissist, that was hard because she would always use these tactics to get me off balance, off center, hot, cold, all the time. And that formed a trauma bond, where I became codependent, which had never happened in my life before. And it was done so well and executed so perfectly and over a long period of time that I did not see it coming. And that affected my physical health as well. So having secure, healthy attachments is crucial. And part of what they're saying there about mirroring our relationship with our parents, as a child with severe ADHD and autism, I was often ignored because I was so demanding. And from that, I learned to make myself smaller and smaller. And I carried that on in my relationship. Now, the narcissist in my life saw that because I told her about it. And she used that against me. Imagine. That's just one of the things she used against me. So going forward, healing your childhood wounds becomes empirical. Healing your childhood wounds is what is going to get you through this. And believe me when I said we all have them. Every single one of us. Some more than others. Anyway, so let's continue. The chapter she wrote here is called Breaking Bad. If it's true that when we attach to someone healthy and functional, it feels good and provides a sense of security, grounding, safety, and wholeness, then the opposite is also true. When we attach to someone who is perhaps, say, sexually addicted, it can affect our physical, mental, emotional, spiritual health, and in teeth-rattling ways, more than once. Instead of grounding us, it puts us in a free fall. Instead of security, we experience fear. Because our partner has caused us such deep pain, they now feel like a threat to our well-being rather than a source of comfort and rest. She mentioned somebody called Sue Johnson. She's a founder of emotionally focused therapy for couples. She says that betrayal traumas overwhelm coping capacity and defines the relationship as a source of danger rather than a safe haven in times of stress. What it comes down to, you just don't trust the motherfucker anymore. Right? When that special someone that we have bonded with betrays us, it messes us up because all of a sudden, the person who is our secure base in the world has caused us untold pain and robbed us of our sense of safety. The relationship we thought was safe now feels painful and threatening. So if you've been through that, if you're going through that, I think you can relate. It just overwhelms you. Like, it's an overwhelming sense of despair. Because everything that you based your relationship on, and part of that is yourself, just crumbled, just vanished overnight, in a minute, in a second. Now that's deep pain. When that happened to me, I stayed in that pain for about 3 days. And then I picked myself up by the bootstraps and I said, okay, that's enough. I am not a victim. I will never have a victim mentality. It's time to learn. For me, learning is knowledge. So I went on and learned everything I could about covert narcissistic women. Everything. And that gave me some sense of peace. Because now I was able to understand the mechanics behind it. See, that's the way I work. Once I understand the mechanic behind it, then my empathy can embark on board, and then my emotional intelligence gets on it too. Now I see it differently. Because my spouse was so badly abused as a child that she became a covert narcissist, because that's where it stems from. What can I say? Am I still mad at that person? No, I'm not. I've overcame that a long time ago. However, it has taught me a lesson. It has made me work on myself. And for that reason alone, I thank you. Because that made me a better person today than I ever was. I never seek revenge. That's not who I am. All I seek is understanding. And I got that. And I suggest that you do that as well. Doesn't matter what your spouse is, whether they're perfectly normal or there's something wrong with them, doesn't matter. Study the reason behind it. And if your spouse stepped out on you, it's not normal. Like something's going on either within the relationship, within yourself, within themselves. And that's why it's so important that you educate yourself on the subject. Because what you may blame on somebody, you may turn around after you learn what it's all about and say, oh shit, I have a part in there. I have a part in that as well. And so did I. When they say it takes two to tango, it takes two to tango. Because when you tangle by yourself, you just look like a crazy mess. All right, let's continue. So this profound and sudden change in our senses of security and connection sends our bodies into panic and lights up the fear center in our brain like a giant Christmas tree. When our fear center goes into overdrive, our ability to think and reason diminishes quickly, and our ability to function takes a nosedive. This is the trauma part of betrayal trauma. It's the enormous fear and panic response that our bodies are plunged into when our bond with our partner is threatened or severed. And I did experience that. And actually, everybody that goes through this experienced this. But in my case, I'm very strong and I'm very strong-willed. So, yeah, I experienced that. But instead of descending deeper into despair, I just picked myself up and I moved and I learned and I worked on myself. It's fucking hard to do it when you feel that way. But you know what? That's probably the best time for you to do it. Not probably, I know it's the best time for you to do it. You have to be strong. You have to believe in yourself. Do you? Ask yourself that question. For most betrayed partners, this experience is not short-lived. Betrayal has long-term impacts on the ability to trust, to feel safe, and to reconnect and re-engage with openness and vulnerability. Yeah. If you've been betrayed before, how long did it take you for you to trust someone again? It takes a long time. And in many cases, it can take years. And in many cases, some people never trust again. That's sad. Because they're depriving themselves of a full life. Because now they keep telling, oh yeah, I'm okay, I'm this, I'm that. No, they never are. They just never got over the trauma because they never worked on themselves. It's important to work on ourselves when these things happen in our lives. Because a lot of time, we are part of the problem. We don't recognize it, we don't see it, but after you educate yourself and after you work on yourself, you'll see. You will see. The long lasting impact. I like. I'll do something in the house, and I'd be like, "Oh shit, what's she gonna? She's probably gonna freak out when she sees this." And I'm like, "Wait, she's gone." But You spend a lot of time, like I spent 10 years with that person. So it's going to take a long time. I say a long time. It's going to take like within a year or two for these things to dissipate, to go away, for that voice inside your head to just die down. And that's okay. You have to give yourself time. It's not a race. But the first thing you have to do is realize your part in there and forgive yourself. Forgive yourself because you didn't do anything wrong, per se. You may have done things that contributed to this, but you did not do anything wrong. You were a loving partner. You were supportive. You didn't do anything wrong. And you have to forgive yourself. Not that you did something wrong, but forgive yourself for having participated in this whole shebang. Does that make sense to you? Because once you do that, once you truly forgive yourself, things are going to change. And they're going to change fast. The second thing you need to do is get in touch with your inner child. Go into introspection. If you don't know what introspection is, look it up. And do it in private. Do it in solitude. Do it in solitude as much as you can. I know it's not always possible, but as much as you can, take some time. Go into a room and just start thinking back. Because we normalize what we grow up on. And for me, like being ignored all the time, just became normal. I just learned to live with that. I just learned to live that sometimes I'm too much and people don't like it. And that's okay. We all have our different styles. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's hard. I'm trying to convey there what you guys can do. In my case, I'm going to speak from my experience. In my case, I looked at myself after doing introspection and seeing where I was wounded as a child. I went to the bathroom mirror and I talked to my little self. And I told that little self that it's okay. Look what we became. Look where you got. Like, you're this great person. Your life is together. Shit happened in life, yep. But you know what? We keep going. And I love you. It's important that you remind yourself that you love yourself too. Now, once you heal your inner child wounds, it takes a while. It depends on who you are. Once you heal these wounds, you have, as the last step, to learn, to really, truly learn to love yourself. Not anybody else. Love yourself. This is my reminder. This nice little ring here on my keychain. On my necklace. That's my reminder to love myself first. All and always. Because if I cannot love myself, then I cannot properly love anybody else. Right? And we don't think about that sometimes because we tend to give and give and give. Some of us are givers, some of us are a taker. I'm a giver. I give. I do acts of servitude or acts of servitude. Acts of service is my big love language. I love doing things for others that I love. Always. That's how I show it. Well, that's one of the ways I show it. But loving yourself is the best thing you can do for yourself. Because once you learn to truly love yourself, once you learn to make you a priority, your life will change for the better. I promise you that. Anyway, that's my take on that for this week. I hope that you guys have a great week ahead. And I remind you to share your light. Share your light with people in your family. Share your light with your significant others. Share your light with your friends. Share your light with your coworkers. Share your light with your neighborhood. Because when we do that, our light grows, their light grows, and it propagates. Because we need to fight the shadows in this life. They're getting too strong. Anyway, as always, love, light, and shadows. Until next week.